Have you ever wondered why rational and modern humans are still capable of such evil? We pride ourselves on having outgrown superstitions, demons, possessions, even spirits. These belong to the frightening minds of a pre-Socratic age. Carl Jung disagreed, and in his argument, it is harder to dismiss than it first appears. As Jung wrote, modern man is blind to the fact that all of his rationality and efficiency he is possessed by power beyond his control. The gods and demons have not disappeared at all. They have merely got new names. For millennia, across virtually every culture on earth, demonic possessions was treated as a genuine and constant threat. Entire systems of knowledge were built around containing these forces. Today, we regard them as colorful folklore. Jung thought that attitude was not enlightenment. It was a dangerous self-deception. To understand Jung's argument, we need to start with the concept borrowed from the French philosopher Lucien Levy-Bro, participation mystique. This describes the psychological conditions of early humans who drew no firm boundary between their inner life and their outer world. The primitive psyche was largely unconscious, driven by instinct, flooded with impulse, and what could not be possessed internally was projected outward onto nature. The result was an animated world. Rivers had moods, storms had intentions, animals carried wisdom. And because the psyche is built on opposites, light and dark, creative and destructive, these projects gave nature both its gods and its demons. Benevolent forces became guardian spirits and divine protectors. The darker projections became malevolent. Demons, evil spirits, and angry gods. As Jung explains, when there is no consciousness of the difference between subject and object, an unconscious identity prevails. The unconscious is then projected into the object, and the object is introjected into the subject, becoming part of his psychology. Then plants and animals behave like human beings, and everything is alive with ghosts and gods. Over centuries, human awareness deepened. We began to distinguish clear between the inner and the outer world, between what was psyche and what was nature. And as the boundary solidified, we withdrew our projections. We stopped seeing spirits in trees and demons in rivers. We called this progress. But Jung identified a hidden cause. When we pulled our projections back from nature, we didn't dissolve those psychological forces. We drove them inward. The demons didn't vanish. They relocated. The rabble of spooks that were formerly outside have now transported themselves into the psyche of man. The demons have not really disappeared, but have taken on another form. They have become unconscious psyche forces. Jung argued made them more dangerous, not less. Primitive man encountered the demonic in the external world. Those priests, traditions, built precisely for confronting it. But once the demonic was internalized and denied, it had no container. It festered beneath the surface of civilized life, invisible and unnamed. As Jung warns, after it became impossible for the demons to inhabit the rocks, woods, mountains, and rivers, they use humans as much more dangerous dwelling places. A man does not notice it when he is governed by a demon. Puts all of his skill and cunning at the service of his unconscious master, thereby heightening its power 1,000-fold, which was collected by works of Volume 18, Carl Jung. Jung believed this was mostly visible in those who held political power. The idea of having an unchecked authority, he argued, created a dangerous psychological conditions he called the psychological inflation, or in his blunter moments, God Almightyist. The inflated individual begins to see himself as superior to ordinary humanity, untouchable, beyond capability. But the psyche is a self-regulating system. When the conscious attitude becomes too extreme, the unconscious strikes back with equal and opposite force. For the person consumed by a God complex, that counterstrikes take the form of the darkness impulse. They become, in Jung's framework, genuinely possessed. We have lost our superstitious fear of evil spirits and things that go bump in the night, but instead are seized with terror of people who possessed by demons, frightful deeds of darkness, that the doers of such deeds think of themselves not as a possessed, but as a Superman, does not alter the fact of their possession. Collected Works, Volume 18, of Carl Jung. But Jung wasn't only concerned with rules. Ordinary people face the same psychological pressure. When the dark content of the unconscious press towards awareness, most people cannot accept that these forces live within them. So, like their primitive ancestors, they project. The difference is that science has taught us nature cannot be the target. Rocks and rivers don't have intentions. So instead, the demonic and projected onto people, onto foreigners, rival political groups. They become the screen onto which we cast our unacknowledgeable shadow. And once we've placed the evil outside ourselves, we feel righteous in moving against it. This is the mechanism behind persecution. A dangerous situation is created because the disturbing effects are now attributed to an evil will outside ourselves, which is naturally to be found nowhere else than with our neighbors on the other side of the river. This leads to collective delusions and incitements to war and revolution, in a word, to a destructive mass psychosis. Jung's conclusion is uncomfortable precisely because it removes the convenience of the external enemy. The demon isn't out there in the world wearing another face. It is the part of yourself you have to refuse to look at. The ancient question was, how do we cast out the demon? For Jung, the answer wasn't ritual or religion in the traditional sense. It was consciousness, the willingness to turn and face what lives in the dark, part of your own psyche, to name it, to take responsibility for it. Because as long as you insist the evil is somewhere else, you remain, in Jung's word, possessed. The main point of this story is that Jung said that we did not get rid of demons. We just stopped recognizing them, which made them far worse now because they're uncontrollable. That's why he calls us possessed. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe. I have another video coming out soon. I am back. Welcome me back. Anyways, you have a great day. Thank you for watching.